Abhik, a quick introduction to our audience, right? Typically, we tend to have a lot of people coming from a student background, people who are in their second year, third year, or fourth year of college,
Yes.
and mostly engineering colleges within India, and you know, um, primarily in the computer science or related fields. There are some colleges that have information science as a degree, which
Mm.
cover a very similar kind of curriculum as computer science. There are also some candidates, some attendees might have like an NCA kind of background.
Yeah.
Uh, that's on the college students kind of attendees. We also have a lot of participation from working professionals. Okay, people early in their career, usually between 1 to 3 years of experience. Although we sometimes do get people who have been in the industry for much longer than that. About say 5+ years. So that is also one target audience that generally attends our conversations,
Yeah.
and they've contributed pretty well as well. So right. um, so to everybody here, I want to formally welcome the audience. Welcome to Cryo's Big Variable series. Through Big Variable, we try to engage with successful people in the tech industry, talk to them about their career journeys, talk to them about the projects that they have worked on in the past, and also sort of chart out interesting things like, uh, how to get started with tech, kickstart your career in a tech field, uh, and different different areas around, interview prep, how to focus on interviews, what are employers looking for in interviews. Those are some of the things we've covered in the past. In today's Big Variable series, we have a very interesting guest. His name is Abhik Mitra. Abhik, welcome to Cryo's Big Variable series. It's really nice
Thank
to
you.
have you. Abhik is an engineering manager at Microsoft, and he's had a very interesting, career journey so far. And he started off. A quick introduction, if you will permit me, Abhik. Right, is so Abhik started off his career in Infosys, stayed there for a couple of years before transitioning to Flipkart, and from there on, he was there for a couple of years at Flipkart as well, and then has transitioned to Microsoft now. And currently, he's an engineering manager at Microsoft. And Abhik, welcome. We're going to talk to Abhik today about his journey. What took him from Infosys to Flipkart and eventually to Microsoft. And also maybe touch upon things like what else he has in mind, what next steps he's considering, and all the good stuff, right? If you have any questions for Abhik, we have a Slido link set up. The link is right there on your on the screen, and I will also share it in the chat window. Okay, so you can please click on that link, and you can ask questions throughout the conversation. Okay, you don't have to wait till the Q&A section, which we'll have at roughly about 30 to 40 minutes into the conversation. We'll open up for Q&A. So if you have any questions that you want Abhik to address, that is a great opportunity for you as well. All right, so I think it's 5 minutes past. We should probably get started. Avik, are you ready?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Ajay, for the
Okay.
introduction.
All right, great. So, background. Do you want to tell us, what do you do at Microsoft?
Sure, I'll introduce myself. So I have around 9 years of corporate experience. I started from a private college in Calcutta. It was not it was not one of the top 100 colleges in India or any of the fancy IITs or NITs. A pretty normal college in Calcutta. I did my bachelor's in IT there. And then from there, I moved to Infosys, where I was there roughly around 1.5+ years. From there, I moved to Flipkart. Again, at Flipkart, I was there close to 1.5 years or so. And then finally, I was at Microsoft. It's been 5.5 years at Microsoft, uh, where I have worked on things like I started off as a full stack engineer in Bing. Then I did Android for a bunch of time, few years in Outlook for Android. The last couple of years, I was working on a product called Microsoft Teams, where I started leading teams mostly around backend and distributed systems.
Right. Yeah, I mean, great, great journey, right? So, Abhik, do you want to tell us a little bit about, and since we have a lot of people coming from college as well, you want to talk about, the college you went to, and, how did you do in college, and,
Sure.
how did the Infosys opportunity come about?
So it was it was a decent college, but it was not one of the IITs and NITs. When I went to my college, I did not even dream of Microsoft. The company, normally the service companies would visit us, and when I was in first year, second year, that is the sort of companies I always aspired to. Um, and the syllabus was not nothing crazy. We had the typical stuff that you read in that you study in IT or CS, pretty much the standard stuff. uh, I that in those times there were no GitHub, or there was no platforms like Crio.Do. Even Coursera and all started much later. This was in 2007, 2008. And YouTube tutorials was also not that much prevalent. uh,
Right.
yeah, so mostly in college, I mean, I was an engineering student, so it's not like I was studying all day. So, like
Right.
everybody else, I would study before the day before the exam, and I would somehow make it through. I remember uh, my father always wanted me to have a CGPA of 8 plus, but sadly that didn't happen. So I was stuck in the 7 pointers group when
Oh,
I graduated college. Uh, but yeah, so from college I got placed at I got into three companies: Infosys, Wipro, and ITC Infotech. All of them was a part of my campus placements. Um, yeah, that's how I looked at college. The thing that stood out in my college was these some of these companies like Mozilla, Google, Microsoft would run these campus ambassador programs,
right.
where they would say that they would give some goodies to the students or give them some extra, let's say, free trainings and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea is that the student goes and talks to their peers, takes sessions, saying that, hey, you know what, these are the new things that are coming up. One of the things that I was part of was Microsoft Student Partner Program.
Right.
So I had picked up .NET. So I would make small apps for Windows Mobile. Um, nothing really like Nothing really went viral, but small apps like calculator and stuff like that. And I would show to my friends, hey, this is something that maybe you are interested in. So those
Right.
sort of things I would do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, but then one clarity that I had during my college was that I loved coding. I would spend a lot of time coding. I did, for, like I said, Windows Phone, Windows Mobile, whatever I could code, I would try and do something.
Right.
Not great at it, but you know,
Well, you got
just trying to
started,
do
right?
whatever. Yeah,
Yeah.
just trying
And
to do
actually,
whatever. Yeah,
back in the day, if you're looking at almost 9 years ago,
yeah,
then it wasn't even that popular back then.
correct.
Apps
Yes,
apps was more an afterthought. I mean, I think it sort of started taking off. And if you're thinking about Windows Mobile, I think they were pretty late to enter the app game
correct,
as
correct.
well,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
So I think you would qualify as one of those early adopters of the app
Correct, correct.
ecosystem and getting excited about building
Yeah.
native applications
Yeah.
on the phone.
Yeah, I remember one day somebody came into our home and they were using the big ass phone where they would use the stylus and do things
Yeah.
like that. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
what is that? You're like, oh, you can run softwares here. I'm like, oh shit. What's Okay? So that was actually
Yeah.
good fun during. So I had good clarity that coding was something that I enjoyed,
Mhm.
and even though my CGPA was not that great, but like data structure algorithms, stuff
Yeah.
like web technologies, those I had a lot of interest on, and I did good. The part that did not interest me were the electrical parts, the automata. Those were like I did not
Sure.
was not very interesting. Yeah.
Check boxes. I absolutely have to do them to graduate, so I'll do them.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
actually, it's curious. What got you excited about the app ecosystem so earlier on, and also what kind of resources did you have at your disposal to actually learn about these things? Because back then it was a very nascent field, right? So what got you excited, and how did you learn?
Yeah. So one thing during my journey, when I share with you, you'll understand is the importance of community is something that has stood out in my life. For example, during my college, when my friends were doing something else, blah blah blah, they were playing and all of that. I was a part of a bigger community which was the Microsoft Student Partner community. At that time, we did not have communities like Crio.Do, so it's awesome that you guys have that. So I would interact with those, and I made friends in those communities. So somewhere in maybe Gujarat, some guy was building apps. I'm like, oh shit! If he can build apps, then why can't I? He's also like second year or third year, right?
Right.
So that takes in that, hey, so I would just ping him and say, I saw that you posted screenshots in your Facebook profile. How did you do it? He said, oh, it's very easy. You just go to Microsoft's website and you can just see it. I'm like, oh, that's all? That's all you need? He said, like, yeah, that's all you need. So
Right.
I would go them. I would ask him. Then I would find people. Um, yeah. Then the concept. Then I started googling, and then I found, oh, there's something called a Stack Overflow.
Mhm.
So and it seemed much more interesting than the colleges, whatever algorithm was being taught in colleges.
Right.
Not that, it's not that it was not important, but it just did not
Sure.
seem interesting. That
I mean, as an engineer or a hacker or something, it's
yeah,
always a lot of fun to write some code and then to be able to see it on this new kind of device that is so
yeah,
cool. And
yeah,
yeah, it's
absolutely.
pretty good. Yeah, you've been pretty inquisitive earlier on,
Yeah,
which is
yeah. Yeah, I remember that time we did not have the device. I downloaded the emulator, and the emulator, started, and I was blown away with the emulator. Shit, it's like a phone running on my computer. That's awesome. Yeah,
yeah, it's a good piece of advice. So for everyone who's listening, right? Curiosity is one step, but if you can take a step forward and nurture that curiosity, then a lot of good things can come out of it, right? So anyway,
generally
uh,
one of my advices are, if you want to be let's say if you want to get into product companies, if you want to invent competitive programming, or if you want to just know about distributed systems, foster a group where all of those people who share the same interest.
right.
If you have a group where everybody is doing something else, let's say everybody is preparing for UPSC, and you are the only person in your group who wants to do distributed systems, understand Redis caches and whatnot, that will generally not work.
Mhm.
So
Right.
try and find out those communities. If you're here, you already are a part of community, which is Crio.Do. So that's great.
I think the running joke also is, if you're coming from West Bengal, then there's a very good chance that every third person that you meet is probably IAS, UPSC, and other things. So it's funny that you mentioned that. Anyway, so let's talk about Infosys. You got an opportunity, possibly through campus recruitment, right?
Hmm.
And you decided to go ahead and proceed and
Hmm.
join Infosys. So how did that work out? We want to talk about
So
Infosys.
at Infosys, it's again a very straightforward process. I don't know if the process has changed this year or so. Um, what generally happens is you join Infosys, they give you a joining date, you join, they put you into a
So the
four
voice is
five
not
months.
clear.
Uh, Folks, it's actually very clear to me. Can you please check your internet connections? Yeah. All right. Yeah, go ahead, Abhik.
Yeah. So yeah, they put you in a 4 month uh, foundation program. I don't remember the exact name. It's called a training program, where they train you in a bunch of technologies, and then you are finally assigned to a project or a bench,
Right.
and you do that project. And after that project finishes, you move to another project or another bench. This is kind of how the process is.
All right.
In my case, I went through the training, and then they put me in a Java training batch. So I did finished that. So it's 4 months. Then I got posted to Chennai, where I was on bench for around 9 months.
Okay.
I remember, yeah, it was a very difficult part of my life.
Right.
Um, but that's what was it. And then I moved to, and we'll talk about that. Getting
Sure.
projects itself is like technique, and I moved
Hmm.
to something called as Infosys Labs, which was
Right.
like a research wing within Infosys. I had a lot of fun there. I worked on some products there, and after that, I moved to Flipkart.
That's interesting. So let's talk about that Infosys training, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Um, ma- um, you know, people call it the ninth semester that you never took in college, right?
yeah,
So and they hire a lot of people, and for
yeah,
them, skilling is actually a big challenge for a large
yeah, yeah, yeah,
company like Infosys as well, right?
yeah.
So how was the training experience in Infosys? What did you learn? What were the takeaways? And sort of how did that line up with the things that you ended up doing right after the training or even
Sure.
beyond that?
Sure. The training itself was, I would say, the infrastructure was awesome. Like they would let you stay in a campus. They would take care of your food. Like it's all you'll have to pay, but it's all within the campus. You wouldn't have to go out. From the infrastructure point, it's like it blows my mind. It's like a city within a city.
It was like the
Um,
Mysore campus.
yes, it's the Mysore
Yeah,
campus.
right, right.
Um, yeah, it's an awesome place. Uh, Now coming to the content of the training. So the content of the training is designed in two parts. One is a very generic part, which is kind of distilling all the 4 years of your BTech into the
Hmm.
parts that you will absolutely need. Some bit of coding, some bit of looping, if statements. So from that basic to some
Hmm.
bit of classes, low level
Right,
design,
right.
some sort of that. That's the first part, and the second part is Java. So you either get put into a Java batch or a like a .NET batch. So where you do some JSP, you build a like a 3-tier architecture, very small web app. Again,
Right.
according to the specifications. Now, the way these trainings are designed, these trainings are not designed for for you to be the best engineer in the world. These trainings are designed so that you can take what a spec client spec would be, and you can transition it into code. So you are
Got it.
not
Yeah.
expected to write a lot of logic. It's mostly sticking to the specifications is what I learned.
Hmm.
Okay, so
Is it
it's a
pretty
very different
hands-on?
kind of.
Is it a lot of theory, or you actually have to build all these things in order to showcase that you're actually making progress? More
The building,
theoretical, yeah.
yeah, the building part is not, it's not like you'll be building a distributed system. What you would build is you'll generally write some classes, and classes
Mm.
would auto run, and
All right.
that's about it.
Mm.
And the idea was to not get as in not too much focus on the logic or the
Hmm.
coding aspect of it, whether you're writing great code or not. It's mostly whether you're sticking to the class specifications, whether you have
Mm.
the right members, right fields, all
Mm.
of that, whether your arguments are correct according
Hmm.
to the spec that you saw.
Got it.
That's the part that was trained. Now, if a lot of people ask me this question is, hey, will that training help me to crack into product companies? It will not. That's not the intent of the training. As
Right.
in, the training is there so that you become successful at what you would do it at one of the service companies.
Right.
It is not for you to break into product companies.
Yeah, I see. I mean, I can kind of understand that as well. I think the services company, the kind of projects that they take on, it's very important to have a very clear spec that you have negotiated and collaborated on with a potential client, and then implementing something to that agreed upon spec is actually a very important part of
Yeah,
services company deliverables. And I think many of the projects that companies like Infosys take on are also very long-term projects.
correct.
So in that case, basically understanding these contracts with, I mean, the software contracts, the functional specs, and those things become very critical,
Absolutely, yeah.
right?
It's not often that you will see a project in its end to end or its entirety,
Mm.
because it will be like a 5 year, 6 year maintenance project or 5 year, 6 year project that multiple
Right.
thousands of people are doing. You'll interact with a
Mm.
very small part of the system, which would have very very strict guidelines.
All right. And then, there was an 8-month period
Yeah,
where you were on the bench.
yeah,
What does that mean to be on the
yeah,
bench?
yeah. For to be on the bench, it means that there are no projects.
Hmm.
So for service companies, based on their business model, they would need to keep a headcount so that they can go and pitch for new projects. Whenever a project is assigned, those number of people gets assigned to a project, and you cannot use those people for any other project. This is how the business model works today also.
Right.
So that would mean there would be these X percentage of people who are sitting and waiting for new projects to come. When a new projects come, I don't know how it was assigned. Somehow it was figured out, and they would assign that, hey, you know what, there's a new project, you know, take 100 people, 100 resources from the bench and assign. So
Right.
that's what would happen. And during those the bench period, there is no expectations from you. Um, Various companies do various things. Some companies give you low salary. Some companies give you the same salary during the bench period. But there
Right.
are no deliverables. You still report to an EM, but it's you don't meet him. Maybe once a month you'll meet him.
All right. All right.
Yeah.
How did you use this time? What did you do?
Yeah, I was in the first month I was all my friends were happy, dude. We are working, and there's like we don't have to work. There's free money, and we can play Counter Strike. I said, okay, let's do that. I mean, yeah, this is life. This is heaven. I have achieved
Counter
it.
Strike.
Yeah. So I was playing Counter Strike, but then I realized that then that's when it happens when you get bored with multiplayer games. You know, can you really get bored? I had gotten bored. Yeah, my friends were like, "Oh shit, we have played enough Counter Strike. What do we do now?"
Right.
Okay, so the next best thing is, you start preparing for IS. Folks start preparing for. So all around me, people start studying. So some start preparing for CAT, GATE. Some people for GRE.
Mm-hmm.
Some people for other stuff. IS. Some people start for bank
Right.
exams.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever. So they started
Right.
preparing for all of those, and I was super confused. I mean, anybody would be confused. I remember people were spending one day studying CAT, one day studying IAS because they don't know what to study. I did not know what to study. So
Sure.
I remember I spent 2 days in the CAT camp where folks are studying CAT. So I made friends with
So,
them. I
so
said, okay,
there's the cat camp as well.
there's a cubicle where all the college kids or the newly minted uh,
Okay, that's
corporates
interesting.
are studying CAT.
Yeah.
So you don't talk about gate there, right? Because that's the CAT area. And there's a part where people are sleeping also. So that's there.
Okay. Okay.
So I did all of those, and I figured out, none of these were working for me. So I did 2 day CAT camp, and I went to the gate camp, and I was like, hey, what are you guys doing? And like, no, we don't talk about CAT here. We don't do that here. We talk about gate.
All right. That's
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I did that, and I was super confused at the end of the day, dude. What am I doing? These folks are studying, and I don't know what to do with my life. So I said, okay, I know I like coding. So what I'll do is I will try and get opportunities within Infosys. I look for opportunities within Infosys.
Right.
Other people were looking, and when I say opportunities are different from projects. Other people were looking for projects where they would be assigned. And I was not looking for projects. I did not give a shit about whether I was in a project or not. What I wanted is somebody who will give me a piece of code and say that, go and write this piece of code, and I'll write it for them. It's fine. If they don't want me part of the project, it's fine. I'll do it for free. But
Okay.
I'll do it.
Yeah.
So I started writing blogs. I opened my blog, and I had a blog from college. So I started writing more
Mm-hmm.
stuff of it, and I didn't know what to start from. So last year in my college, I was interested in computer vision. Pretty much
Okay.
that's what you do in the college, fourth year and all. So I
Right.
started learning more about it, and there were all like in 2012 there were like handful of companies doing computer vision. Deep learning was not a thing then.
Right.
Yeah, so and I knew, okay, that's not gonna happen. So, but I felt, okay, let me just code. So I started coding and writing stuff in my blog. And in Office, what I would do is I would look for in the internal portals. I would look for people who are asking questions related to .NET, computer vision, those
Right.
sort of things, stuff
Mm-hmm.
that I know, like app development.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
and I would just randomly search here and there, and I
Mm-hmm.
stumbled upon a portal which had odd jobs. So odd
Okay.
jobs, as in, let's say 1 month of project, 1 month
Right.
of some work that nobody is building, and they say that, "Oh, can we get somebody in bench to build this?"
Sure.
And they would post it in that portal. And if somebody replies, somebody replies. If somebody doesn't reply, they're kind of okay. It's like they don't
Sure.
care about this.
Yeah, it's more like an exploratory thing or something that is time
Yeah,
bound, but it's good if
it's an
it gets
intent.
done.
Yeah, it's not get done. It's fine.
Okay.
Okay, so
Right.
it's like a portal that nobody would use, that sort of thing. It's like you find it in the dust and it's like, oh, what is this? Some people have posted, very rare posting. So I started going through that.
All right.
I started going through that and I started cold calling managers who had posted, or one of their juniors would have posted there, hey, can you build a .NET app tool for us to do, I don't know, get the weather maybe.
All right.
Okay. So I started cold calling these EMs. Some of the EMs were also not interested in it. Like, yeah, he posted, but I don't know. And what I would do is I would try to sell myself. I would say that,
Sure.
I'm in the bench and I have this awesome blog. Can I send you a email with a cover letter and my CV, if something that's interested in?
All
And
right.
the part that was important was him not like the CV was not the important part, because when you are out of college, everybody's CV looks same.
Yeah,
The
it
part
looks
which
very
I wanted
similar.
to
Yeah.
show is I was interested. I had my own blog, right?
Right.
I was interested about this. I would talk about, I think my Stack Overflow rank, something like those. Those are the things I would show. There was no GitHub then. There was GitHub, but I was not very active at that time. It was 2012. Um, so that is what I would do. Um, I would I would give them links to the project. That time SoundForge would be a thing,
Right.
where they were. I think SourceForge, yeah, SourceForge would be a thing where you would upload your projects. So I
Right.
would try and stand out, saying that, hey, you know what, I am this guy who is really interested, and I'm willing to do anything for you. So that's how I would do. And thankfully, one of my the next managers liked it. So he was a director of the team, and he liked it. He said, okay, why not? Do you want to join us? I said, hey, yeah, I'll join you. Awesome.
Mhm.
But he said, coming to my team might take time, because these are, at these companies, you have very strong orgs, like big orgs. Like,
Mhm.
these companies are essentially group of companies, if you may,
Sure.
right? These big orgs would have 10,000 people and whatnot.
Right.
So moving from one org to another org is like almost changing a company. So, and whenever you would do that as a fresher, you get asked a lot of questions saying that, hey, why do you want to change projects? You are just a fresher. I can give you another project. Why don't you take that project?
Mm.
But somehow I liked the project that Infosys Labs had. So I kept saying that, no, I want to move to Infosys Labs. I want to move to Infosys Labs. And my that time my current managers, they were not very happy with it. They were like, hey, why am I going to lose one other headcount? Because they need to get projects, right?
Right.
Um,
Right.
yeah. So they were not willing to let me. So I was like, okay, check it. I don't care about this bureaucracy. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna be in bench, and why not I start contributing to their project? So I
Correct.
start contributing them. So, and I remember that, a lot of people would come and say that, hey, why would you do such a thing? You are sitting on bench and you're contributing to some other manager's project who might not even take you. I'm like, okay, but I'm coding. Yeah, that's what I enjoy.
Anything to get
Uh,
an opportunity to write code, right?
yeah, anything to get an opportunity to write code. Yeah, I was learning stuff, and it was a lot of fun though, and I was enjoying that. So I felt, yeah, let's do that. And I knew that if I work really hard, at some point, the manager who I was working
Right.
for would automatically want me in their team, right? They would not want to risk it, saying that, oh, he's in another team. At someday his manager might turn up and say that, no, he's not gonna work for you.
Right. I think,
So
yeah, in
yeah,
general, in teams, I think, people who deliver and people who are actually very energetic and self-driven, they're a premium, actually. You don't want to let go of people who are actually do the work and excited about things and drive themselves. Those things are all very good. Yeah, I mean, yeah, sorry, I interrupted. What happened next? It's very interesting now.
So that continued happening for a few months. At some point, my the manager who was asking for, he said, um, I think it's time we need to fast track this process. I need to get you into my org. Um, I said, okay, go ahead. And so they got me in, and I moved to Hyderabad from there. After that, it was a pretty nice experience, since I had taken the effort while, like, in my during my bench days, instead of taking any project that came to me, I took an effort to choose a project, right? Because I was,
Right.
of course, calling people. So I was put in a team which I really liked. I was doing Wi-Fi triangulation. Um, and I was building stuff. So that was something that I was really enjoying, and I put a lot of blood and soul into the work. Not only was the product was pretty good, but I felt that if I do well here, it is going to shape me well as an individual. Like
Right.
the work that was being done, that those sort of work was also probably gets done in other product companies, because I said, right, I was writing a lot
Sure.
of code, I was shipping stuff,
Right.
um, uh, and I was enjoying that. One of the things that I always had in mind is that I was not from a college which was like IITs or NITs. And the best way to explain is, your corporate life is like a marathon, 48 kilometers marathon. Okay,
Sure.
and you have a target where you want to get to, and everybody has a target.
Sure.
And it's just that folks from good colleges are just, I don't know, 5 kilometers into, and you started the race where you are already at the back. Okay, and somebody is starting from 5K when they leave their college, and you're
Right.
starting from 1K. But
Right.
the
Right.
good part about it is 5K is only a small portion of the entire 42-kilometer race.
Right.
And the only way to cross that guy who's 5K um, ahead of you is to just run
Yeah.
fast.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great, actually. Just a few follow-up questions. So, Infosys Labs that you touched upon, right? Is it like a portion of Infosys where they're actually building some solutions that they can then potentially go ahead and market to a lot of their clients, and
Yeah,
and then start getting contracts for, we already have the solution, we can implement it for you, something like
yeah.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so at that time, Infosys had this arm called Infosys Labs, where they would build products, uh, more future-looking products on technologies which are not very popular, and that Wi-Fi triangulation, Bluetooth low energy, those sort of things.
Right.
Make POCs, showcase to client, and see if there is a potential product opportunity that the client can invest in. We are still not making products for the general public. It's just mostly showcasing potential clients, like big clients like Tesco,
Right.
Sainsbury's,
Got it. Got it. Yeah,
those
I
sort
think
of things.
it's a good avenue to actually learn how to build slightly you know product kind of roles. If you will,
Yeah,
like uh, there is some exploration. I think the nature of work is in such teams is probably similar to what you would find in many product
yeah,
based
yeah,
companies as well, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
So one thing that I would do, I remember, is since I would go and spend time a lot on design patterns, um, and try and implement them in my code. Sometimes it would not make sense,
Yeah.
but I would I would say that, how can I implement this in my code? And it's
Right.
also a very junior mistake to do, but that I would do there. And then my tech lead is saying, "Hey, why did you make it a singleton?" And I said, "Hey, but I learned something that there's a singleton, so I did that." Or, "Why did you put a factory here?" So, but then he would explain to me is where to use the factory pattern or where to use the
Right.
singleton pattern.
Yeah.
But just going through that process, helped me learn and pick up quite a lot.
Got it. Got it. So, Abhik, once the once you've spent a couple of months in places like Infosys, I think there are a lot of opportunities for you to move into other kind of services roles, and I think people who have completed their training phase in Infosys also do come at a premium for other services companies, right? Because
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
ready to be deployed.
yeah.
Maybe, yeah. So did you get any of those opportunities while you were there?
Yeah, at service companies, the things that I hear, there's one that happened to me, but mostly what folks say is, I'm looking for an on-site opportunity. And mostly when I was saying that, hey, maybe I should look out, folks were like, hey, why are you looking out? What you should do is think about an on-site opportunity. Now, personally, I felt that that did not work for me. For example, I am okay going and working, in any country, as long as I do the work I love. I'm not going, okay just going to a country and doing something which I would not enjoy.
Right.
So for me, the quality of work always took like the number one in my list,
Hmm.
and not the any other part, and even salary. So when I
Right.
started looking out, this was in 2013, early 2013s.
Hmm.
When I started looking out, immediately I started getting calls from uh, some product companies which were for support roles. You know, support roles is very like some small maintenance where you talk with the corporate customers and fix some of their bugs,
Right.
um, or help them, tell them how to fix those. So and maintenance jobs, those sort of things, I started getting offers, and which was like significant. It was almost double of my salary,
Right.
and it at that time, folks were like, "Hey, Abhik, you got it, you made it, awesome, go for this." I was like, "No, this is not something that I am interested in." So I remember rejecting at three jobs. Three jobs, just so because it did not feel right, because I knew that I would
Hmm.
go there and I will not be happy. At least at Infosys Labs, I was coding. I was doing what I
Right.
love. So it was a trade-off between
Yeah.
work and the amount of money you are making, and I
Right.
just thought that that's not something, a trade-off that I would do.
Yeah, I think that's an important distinction, right, to make, and a very important decision that many people are faced with as well. There's always a little more money that you can make. In some, I mean, earlier on in your career, it might seem like 2x, um, but then it's a long career, right? And then if you don't make the right choices earlier on to follow whatever you want to do, like, I'm not trying to qualify one as a better thing versus the other, but if you don't make those difficult choices, then you end up sort of getting on a faster horse when you could be sitting in a Formula One car, right? You want, instead of incremental improvements or incremental steps towards where you want to go, versus taking those risks and making those drastic changes. So how did you, like, make that decision of, I don't,
Yeah.
these are 2x, these are great companies. Maybe once I get in, I'll get an opportunity to move around and go to some development teams within. Those are also possibilities that probably crossed your mind.
Yeah. So
Uh,
when I look back at it, the way I like to explain this is, your career is like a compound interest. Okay. The more you spent in your initial days putting in that deposit, uh, after 10 years, the compound interest that you get, that's pretty awesome. If your career goes into a simple interest mode,
yeah,
initially it might seem, oh, it's awesome, it's great. Yeah, it's a higher percentage, but then after 10 years, in compound interest, you have the exponential curve. In simple interest, you just stuck linearly.
right.
Um, that's what
Yeah,
I see.
I think that's an excellent way to put it. I don't think I could have put it better. So what happened after after Infosys? You got an opportunity to break into Flipkart.
Yeah,
You want to talk about how that opportunity came about and how you
sure.
converted it? Yeah.
Sure. I remember. So, like I said, I was working in Infosys Labs. One thing I would do is, I would come back home and I would prepare. I would study. Sometimes I would, if there was nothing for me to do, I would just study, or I would read more on the stuff that I was doing in office itself. And I remember I had a roommate, and he was like, "Hey, what the heck? What are you doing?" I said that I am studying. He said, "What are you studying for? IAS, UPSC? What is this?" I said, "No, I'm just studying how to code for iOS. Uh, that's what I'm doing in office. I'm just looking at it." And he was like, "Oh, that's not a thing that folks do. Uh, you should relax."
Yeah.
Um, something that I did not want to relax. I always felt like, what next, what I could do more. And the best way to get to that motivation is to go one is surround yourself with people who are in those sort of companies. I would go visit, and I was in Hyderabad, so I would spend money. I would go visit to Bangalore, go to these conferences, sometimes out of spending money out of my own pocket. I would, and these online, that time, the massive MOOCs platform
Moocs.
starting.
Yeah.
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 So I would spend money and I would go in those communities. And trust me, it might seem like, 2K, 3K, or even 5K might seem a lot at maybe when you are a student, or maybe when you are just in your first job,
Right.
but that's a money well spent. Really, that's a money. Anything that you spend on yourself, whether it's gym or whether it's your career, is well spent rather than
Right.
spending it on popcorns or movies. So yeah,
Yeah, I
so
think if you can front load your career with a lot of these learning opportunities, and take them very seriously, it sets a solid foundation for a 30-year career, right? Front load yourself with a lot of skills and other things, and then they'll come. They'll be very useful, and you don't know, you can't connect the dots looking forward, right?
correct.
So yeah, just be curious, follow those things, invest in your education, invest in your skills,
Yeah.
and basically be curious. And when you did that, how did you learn about Flipkart? How did that come about?
Yeah, so I started going to these conferences, and in conferences there would be talks by Flipkarts. And some of these conferences would be like once a month, small conferences in some offices canteen and all of that. This still happens today. And the great part of it is now it's all remote. So I would go to sites like Meetup.com and those, and I would just see what are the meetups happening in the city. And I would go and I would network. I would see what other people are doing, and that is when I realized, oh, so folks at Flipkart, or folks at Snapdeal, or InMobi are doing so awesome stuff. I want to be like them. And it just, and other developers all would also look in admiration to developers in Flipkart and InMobi, saying, oh, these are the guys, they are the man. So, and I would like, hey, I really want to be like them. I want to know the stuff that they know. And I realized that they know a lot more than me, than their exposure is much higher than me. So that is where I realized that that is what I want to be. And it was a choice. I kind of figured out, if somebody came into my office who was like 5 year at US in some on-site job, that, I mean, I wouldn't go crazy about it. Okay, but if somebody from an engineer from Flipkart who would come and give a talk, I would go crazy about it. So I kind of had it. So I never felt that attraction that way.
Yeah, that's great. So your opportunity in Flipkart, did you go ahead and apply, or you found somebody in one of these conferences through whom you got
I
introduced to
Yeah,
Flipkart?
so I did not find anybody. As in, I was speaking to a lot of people.
Mhm.
I got referred to a bunch of people, but mostly I was rejected. Of course, I applied at Microsoft. I applied for Google. I don't think anybody considered. Even I did not consider myself. It was like I tick in the box. Say, let's apply for Google and whatnot. So I did that, and so I kept applying. And I started spending time on Coursera. I started building my blog. I had a website by then. So I was always trying to stand out from others, saying that how can my CV stand out? So
Right.
that's what I was doing. And at some point, I remember, I think I applied to Flipkart at around Febish, and around May is when I got a call. Um, yeah,
So they did get back.
they did get back. Yeah,
Yeah, that's good. That's amazing, actually. I think with the number of applications they get today from students all over the country, I think
yeah,
it's much harder to get noticed
yep,
and to come back. Yeah, I think that's a lucky break.
yeah.
Yes,
Yeah, they remember they were like 200 people strong that time.
right,
So and I don't think Flipkart was as much as a known name as it's now. Uh, During that, the amount of traffic they had, uh, it took them 4 months to see my CV in their databases. Think about how much it would take now.
yeah, probably not at all. I mean, and now they have a very well-established hiring pipeline
Correct.
as well and things like that. Yeah. So 200 people engineering team in Flipkart when you joined. What was the interview process like? Did you enjoy it? How did they
Sure.
evaluate you?
The interview process was actually mind blowing. The good part about product company, something that I really enjoy, is because the number of engineers are less. In any product companies, if you go, engineers are very, very highly valued because it's not very easy to get the interview processes are difficult, right? So that means if you do well in the interview process, like they will treat you, like a king. Like, because you are one of the lucky ones.
Right.
Doesn't matter really the size of the company, but a product company values engineers are like a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I remember I was for the first round, we had telephonic interview. Then they had one more round, which was a Skype interview, and then they decided. And then there was a third round, which was a coding round. So where they would give a code, and this is the part which I really liked. They would give you a problem statement, and you would have 5 hours to solve it. Uh, and this is a very good way to judge
Yeah.
people. And a lot of startups today, including Microsoft itself, has come kind of this model where they will give you a project, and they'll ask you to the code it
Right.
and send it back. It
Mm-hmm.
is very objectively you can figure out who is writing what kind of code, and what spectrum he is, like
Right.
SD1, SD2, SD3.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the initial round of the process that happened. And after that, I was flown in from Hyderabad to Bangalore. They put me up in a nice hotel, and in the D-Day, I think I had 4 rounds or so.
Oh.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, four or 5 rounds. I don't remember, something like that.
Right.
There was like uh, the normal algorithm data structure round.
Sure.
This was a front end position. So they had a front end design round, they had coding problem round, a blah
Mm-hmm.
blah round, and there was a hiring manager round. So overall, it was a lot of fun. That was like uh, that I really enjoyed it. One of the things that I would do is when I would go for interviews, and Flipkart was not my first interview, so I went into other interviews.
Right.
I would go for random interviews everywhere. I really did not care about the type of company, whether I wanted to work there or not. I would just
Right.
go for interviews because I thought it would be a very good practice. There were no
Right.
mock interviews platform then. So even if service X company or product X, which I had no interest to work on working, if they called me saying that, hey, do you want to? I said, I'll just go. And sometimes I would do well, sometimes I would do not do well. Um, and and for every interview, I would ask the interviewer, what are your favorite books on this topic?
Sure.
Can you recommend me some books? And I
Mm-hmm.
got recommended to, something like, I don't remember, Essential JavaScript. Then there was Crockford's, you don't know, Crockford's Java, what was it? Something like that, some JavaScript, don't remember now. So
Right.
bunch of these books were recommended to me.
Mm-hmm.
So, so instead of asking them like whether I did well or not, which they would not say, they talk to the HR. But if you ask
Right.
them,
Right.
can you tell me a book that would be good, useful for me? They would immediately recommend saying, why don't you study this book?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's a great tip actually. It kind of puts you also into the mind of the interviewer and what they consider valuable, what they consider to be
correct.
a good standard. Where you can pick up some good things as well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great tip actually.
Thank
Um,
you.
and then you're inside Flipkart, the
Yeah.
200 member engineering org,
Yeah.
and you've come from Infosys, and you've had a very non-traditional trajectory inside
Yeah.
Infosys
Yeah.
as well, right?
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
did that prepare you for your role at
Yeah.
Flipkart, and what
It
were your peers like?
yeah. It didn't. So I remember after I cracked the Flipkart interview, I was shit scared. I'm like, I think it was somebody made a mistake, uh, and I got hired, which is great. But they will fire me in 6 months.
It's like I have to
Uh,
actually go and do the work there now,
yes. So I started studying, and folks were like, "Dude, you got a job. Why are you studying?" I don't know. I have to study something.
right?
So, and I did not know. I was trying to study, do blah blah blah. And when I entered, it was like my mind was blown. And it's just literally also in at service companies, you wear formals, you have ties and whatnot. And
Right.
here in the first day, people were in shorts and whatnot. Somebody was dancing there in the connect, your music there. It was a lot of fun. I remember it was a lot of fun. I was like blown away. I remember asking the recruiter one day before saying, "What do I wear on the first day? What's your dress code?" The recruiter says, "You just wear anything. Feel free." Uh, so it was a lot of fun. So the biggest culture shock happened was folks automatically expected you to know Linux. Okay.
Mhm.
Uh, some of the stuff like you would understand is how to run your ID, how to have the open source IDs. Everybody would know. Okay,
Right.
Vim, Emacs, some people would know. Nowadays, people would expect you to know VS codes. You would know what you could find yourself in VS code. You wouldn't be completely at home with the terminal.
Mhm.
Um, that is something I had zero clue about. And I
Yeah.
was I was doing Windows, I was right clicking stuff and doing stuff, and I did not know. Second is source control.
Mhm.
People just expect source control out of the college, and bunch of people joined Flipkart with me. They were from IITs and all the top college, and they were like, "Yeah, it's Linux. We have used Linux at our college. No big deal." And people were doing all of that, and I was like, "Oh shit! I did not even know how to check the what is my current path." I was trying to guess. Okay, there's a slash home folder. There's a root. There's a concept of root. Well, I already always know C drive, D drive, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
yeah, and I
And you can
remember,
click.
yes, correct. And versioning, there was no versioning. When I wanted to version my code, I would just zip it and put a date, saying that
Sure.
okay, that's
Yeah.
what I would do. And there's this like Git. So it took some time. It took some time there to get a hang of things.
Yeah.
First few months, I remember I would stand there, and folks would talk to a bunch of us saying that, hey, this is how you do, this is how you do, and folks were like, yeah, that makes sense. They would be gone, and I would be like, that makes zero sense.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
have zero clue. So then I opened up and I said that, okay, you know what? I'm gonna stand there till I understand it. If people think that I'm stupid, let them think that I'm stupid. Maybe I'm stupid. Let them think that. So
But
I
at
would
least at
stand
the
there.
end of it, you will learn whatever the
Yeah,
task was at hand, and then you could start contributing, making your
correct,
contributions as
correct.
well. Yeah,
Yes,
that's
yes.
that's good. I mean, it's great to be. Yeah, I tend to call it not in a bad way, but you have to be shameful about what you don't know, and
Yeah,
just be out there and be honest. And people
yeah,
are willing to help out as well,
correct,
and they
correct.
want to see
Yeah,
you succeed. You're a part of the company as well, right? So
yeah,
that's
yeah.
that's great. So from Flipkart, and I'll zip through a little bit because we're short on time,
Yeah, yeah,
and I want to get to the questions, and there's a lot of good questions, right? You decided to move out of Flipkart and get into Microsoft.
yeah.
What motivated that decision? Especially
Yeah,
Flipkart, great trajectory, company that's on fire, and then a Microsoft opportunity comes along. You want to talk about that?
yeah, sure. So at Flipkart, I had a lot of fun. But when this Microsoft opportunity came through, I felt Microsoft was just a bigger playing ground. Uh,
Mhm.
I was a At Flipkart, you can be a big fish in a smaller pond.
Mhm.
Big Being a bigger fish at Microsoft is gonna be much difficult because there's a number of people is huge, and they have processes in place which how they do stuff, and I wanted to learn them. Like,
Mhm.
okay, Flipkart has one way of building software.
Yeah.
How is a company who has been doing this for last 30 years? How would it look like? Then the other part of it was working in a more international culture. I wanted to work in a team where part of the team would be sitting in Prague, part of the team would be sitting in US, and I would want to talk to them, figure
Right.
stuff out, and I want to understand it. At Flipkart, it would be easy, right? You have a problem to be solved, you walk over to the problem
Right.
and you sit with that person. But how would you do in a remote setup? Those were the kind of problems I felt that the next phase of my career, I would want to solve those problems.
And are you getting those opportunities at Microsoft today?
Absolutely, anybody who joins Microsoft would have those opportunities. I mean, it's such a large company and it's a global company. So and all of the products, if you see, it's Outlook, Word, Excel, PowerPoint. These are like thousands of developers who are working on those, and it will never be that they are all in one location.
Right. Yeah, that's great. So Abhik, before I jump to questions, actually let's do questions, and then I have a one or two questions to wrap up the discussion, right?
Yeah.
So let me go ahead and share my screen again. Just give me 1 second. Okay, wait here. Let's get out of this. Yeah, so folks, I'll take a few questions. Please use Slido or upvote questions that seem relevant to you, right? So there's one person who says, I just started my career in electronic design automation, R&D engineer, but I want to pursue software engineering. How do you get there?
Yeah. So I recently had somebody from my team who joined from one of the hardware companies. Um, it's not an easy switch to make once you start your journey in a hardware company. The good thing is you are in college. You haven't started the journey yet. Um, So it's just need that you need to spend more time in the things you love. If software engineering is what you want to aspire to, build stuff, create your portfolio, create your brand, make a nice GitHub profile, show people that you're interested in software engineering. Really, startups and product companies these days, not all companies though, but most of the startup and product companies do not care about your background. Some big companies might care about your background, but then once you have a good experience in a startup and product, nobody kind of looks at your college or degree. I never had people asking saying that BTech in what? Sorry, nobody does that.
Got it. You want to expand a little more about the importance of building a brand and sort of having a presence that gets noticed, and how
Yeah.
you cultivate it over time.
Yeah, it's so the software engineering landscape in India has only gotten more competitive, right? And it's going to be in the next 4 years when you are going to graduate. I see the guys in college. It's going to get more and more competitive. Remember that there are lakhs of people like you who are graduating. How, as in, think from a point of view of a hiring manager's point of view. How would you make? What would you tell the hiring manager that other 5,50,000 people would not tell? And that is where you need to build your brand. Think of yourself as a startup, where how do you make sure that your product, which is you, is visible to the market, right? For
Right.
example, if you're coming up with a new Maggie product, which is Maggie, how do you make sure that the other 10 Maggie brands and your brand is the one that gets picked? The only way to do it is to build your brand, create your online presence, um, show that people that you have done a lot. People really care about what you have done, what you have achieved yourself, not some uh, projects or certificates somebody in college gave you. Nobody really cares about that shit. Yeah, some certificates are something that you should not think about even. Think about
Uh,
what you have built.
it's what we try to tell a lot of our students who come in. Fine, we'll
Yeah,
give you a certificate because all of you really want one, but it's not the certificate that matters so much. It's what you gain through the journey as you achieve that certificate. That journey is far more important. Right?
yep.
So another question, if someone has an option to join a services-based company but feels that they can crack product companies, should they go ahead and take the risk, and not join the services company and focus only on getting to that product company after
That's
graduation?
that's a good question. So that depends on your financial standing, I would say. I was not in a position where I could say that I will not join Infosys. I mean, nobody really wants to join, or maybe I did not want to join service companies.
Right.
Or everybody, think of it, everybody wants to join Google. Should you wait for Google? Um, I don't think that's a good strategy. It does give you a lot of time to prepare, though. But remember, it depends on your how much risk that you can take. Maybe till 1 year, it's fine. After that, I would say get into a company. If you want to buy courses, then you need some money. Instead of asking your parents, you can use your day job to earn. Use that money to invest on yourself. Um, and then go from there. Also, companies love to see you that you are really working hard. Just telling a company that, oh, I did not take a campus placement because I was working, I was trying to build my profile for product companies, doesn't sound good, because there are other people who are doing the same thing by working in a company. So people really want to see you working hard.
Right. Okay, so the next question is, I really don't like data structures and algorithms, but I really love doing development work. I really love waking up, staying up the whole night and searching and resolving an error. Why do companies focus so much on data structures and
Yeah, yeah.
algorithms?
Yeah, it's like the way I talk about it in is like nobody really likes writing unit tests, okay? But it's like pooping. Like you get out of the bed, you have to poop, right? Nobody really enjoys pooping. You just get it done with and finish it. Go and do the next thing. So it's a very similar thing, right? Maybe really you're not coding binary trees or linked list traversal in your day job, maybe. Um, but you still need to know it. Um, in a lot of places, you actually require it. I would say trees and linked list are fairly common in software, and you would need them. Maybe you would not be implementing them, but you would be using collections or data structures which are abstractions on top of that.
Right.
So if you really love development, you should go look at everything under the hood. Like, how is MySQL storing data? Well, B plus trees. Uh, so again, so that's the way I would approach it. But yes, the part which is data structure and algorithm preparation just for interview is can be dry. But it's just we have to get it done. Just let's do it.
All right. So I'll take maybe two questions, and then I think we're frankly out of time. Um, when do you think one should look at switching companies? And this person actually wants to understand what drives and triggers this thought. Maybe you can also touch upon how to select a company that is in line with your career goals,
Yeah.
and how to make that transition. Yeah.
Yeah. The way to look at it is the way I tell everybody and is you should always be looking. You should always be looking out. The reason is you're not always looking out to change companies. You should know what the opportunities are. If you don't know what the opportunities are outside, you will never know when to look out, right? For example, if some other company is giving you an exposure, let's say, I don't know, ML, and you have never looked out, you have never ventured to LinkedIn, you have not looked out of your current job, you will never even know what people are doing in ML, right? Then only you can go to your current company and say, hey, I want to work on ML, or you want to go and you can go look for other opportunities. So always keep looking out for opportunities. What sort of opportunities are there? Then you assess whether you find that opportunity interesting. Switching jobs is a risk. You're leaving your manager, you're leaving, there's a bunch of things that can go wrong. So make sure the amount of risk appetite is in line with the amount of benefit you expect, and then take the plunge. And when you select companies, it depends on a variety of things. One of I remember I interviewed in one company, and they listed down few things and said, what are your top three uh, things that are most important to you? They listed down stuff like work-life balance. Then there were stuff like interesting work, good salary, good peers, good managers, blah 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 blah. So, and I liked that exercise because I really did not think about it. And then when I thought about it and I marked those three, for me, good work was the number one, good peers was the number two, and good culture of the company was number three. So those three were my driving goals. It could be completely something totally something different for you. It could be, good money, work-life balance, something else. Depending on those, you just select the company.
So, Abhik, one final question, and I'm sort of summarizing a few questions that I read from users. Right? Uh, if like you were on the bench for a couple of months, right?
Hmm.
And you did describe it as a very difficult time as well.
Yeah,
People go into questions around self-doubt. Am
yeah,
I not good enough? I'm not getting these opportunities, right? And then there's also this barrier around, okay, if I'm not even getting work within here, like Infosys as a company or a services company, no projects, how, if I'm not getting it here, then how can I even expect to even dream about going to a product based company or any other company that they might want to join, right? So how do you navigate this? How do you continue to stay motivated, and how do you chart your own career development path from that point?
so self doubt is something that will always happen in your life, whether you are in a service based company, whether you are in a product based company, whether you are not working. Doesn't happen. At some point in life, you will see that your friends are doing something totally else. Maybe they are doing startups, and you are working on a product company, and you feel that, oh shit, and they are all making their own startups and I don't have any idea. So this is something that you have to talk to yourself and be okay with, saying that, hey, here's my position and here's what I should do. Don't look at others. What are they doing? Take inspiration from them, but don't compare. Everybody has their own career trajectory, and you will do well. What people want to see is passion. As long as you have a passion for what you are doing, you will be successful. I can give that in writing, and folks who are much more successful than me can give that in writing too. That passion is the really the only thing. So keep doing whatever you're doing with passion. Don't let self doubt creep into it. and you'll be well. And like that's what the point is. You do what you love. It's not something you have to do because you want to get into a product company. I would say that's the wrong way to approach this. The right way to approach this is I want to learn, and if product companies are the right place to be in, I will be in a product companies. If service companies are the right place to be in based on what I want to do, then I will be in service companies. Or if not working and making my own company is the right place, so be it. Maybe that's where you belong.
Right. I think that's a great segue to sort of conclude the conversation. Thank you so much, Abhik. I think it's been excellent, and I think a lot of people sort of resonate and will find a lot of inspiration from your journey and the messages that you have shared. If I have to characterize uh, the journey that you've taken, the path you've taken throughout, I think it's one of inspiration and basically passion with a lot of grit and determination to achieve it. Um, you know, and you've
Yeah.
kind of kept at it, and you haven't let that side go. What are Abhik's future plans? What's in store after Microsoft? Is Microsoft great? What's happening there?
Yeah, so Microsoft is great. Really, I've worked on a bunch of products there, and I want to keep working on. The good thing about Microsoft or any big companies is they offer you a lot of choice. So you can work on product one, then you can move into product two, then you can move into product three, and those are very different, and you can always pick up new skills. So that I intend to keep on doing. Something that I want to do more of is get more work in a more internationally diverse environment. For example, where more cosmopolitan place where people are from different parts of the world having their own biases,
Right.
bringing their own diverse perspectives. That's the if I think that's the part I need to grow in the next few years or so.
That's great, and best wishes from all of us here at Cryo. And I know I speak for the audience here when I say that they found this talk extremely valuable. Many of them might end up going through the same journeys as well.
Mm.
So thank you for being here. Thank you for spending your time with us. And folks, Abhik also runs a YouTube channel where he mentors and talks about system design and other topics of general interest within the tech field. So we'll share a link to his YouTube channel and other things that he runs. His LinkedIn is also right there, and we'll be sure to add this in the show notes when we upload it to YouTube and share a link
Yeah.
with all of you. So Abhik, thank you so much. Thank you for spending your Saturday evening with us.
Yeah. Thanks, Ajay. I put the links in the chat if any folks are interested.
Okay, that is great. Yeah, so you can please feel free to use those links. We will also take these links and share it in the show notes when we
Mm.
upload this to YouTube. All
Yeah.
right. All right. Thank you very much.